know that saying that some dogs are better left lying? Wow, it's unfortunate that situations and, you know, truths in life, they don't come with those kinds of warning labels. So lately I've been on a little bit of a journey to try and figure out kind of my lineage in the respect of when did my first forefathers come here. So like, where do I fall in? Am I second generation, fourth generation, whatever the case may be. So it turns out that I actually have bloodlines from 3 different nations. Now, the other 2, those are stories for another time. Right now, I want to talk to you about my Italian side. I'm 4th generation Italian in this country. Okay? So now what happened was, in 1881, a whole group of silk spinners were duped into coming from Italy, where they were doing fine, to here. This apparently was some kind of experiment that went wrong, and the guy's name was Henry Barrington. Yes, some person who was under the watchful eye of Queen Victoria. Anyway, doesn't matter, South Africa was an English colony way back then. So what ended up happening was they duped these 3 families into coming here with promises of this paradise where all they need to bring is their silk spinning skills and their silkworms. There would be mulberry bushes here, what, housing, all of that kind of stuff. So they were to go to the Knysna forest, which is in the Cape. All good and well. In March 1881, they arrived at the docks, and oh look, there was hardly space on the boat for them, much less their possessions. So they literally had to leave behind everything they owned. Every single one of those people had just a trunk with their essentials, meaning their shoes and their clothes. That was it. They travelled for 6 weeks, which means that they arrived in the Cape, I think it was in May, like on the 25th of May or something like that. Now, bear in mind that paradise was sold to them, okay? So they expected to be taken care of by the government of this country, meaning they would have housing, they would have a living wage, all of these kinds of things. There was nothing like that. Complete lies, okay? So from where they landed, they got onto an ox wagon, an Oelofse-Canovi, and they tracked for 3 weeks with their families and all the rest through the Knysna forest. And they got like to the centre of this forest, where again they obviously were living in hope that the government was going to actually come up with what they said they were going to come up with. They got there and there was nothing. No housing, there wasn't even a shed, no church, no schools, no nothing, right? So my people, who were silk spinners and professionals in their trade in Italy, were reduced to becoming woodcutters and farmers and road workers, whatever they had to do in order to basically survive, to look after their families. Now, my great-great-grandfather, who was simply known as Joe, he obviously came on the ship. He came from Genoa City. My grandmother, Monica, she came from Naples. Now, you know, the history is a little sketchy on this, so I'm not really sure, but I think they met on the ship. They ended up getting married and whatnot, I'm presuming here, and they had a son. And that son was my great-grandfather, Giuseppe. And so he was the first-born South African. He was the first one born in this country. And thereafter followed my grandfather, and then my father, and hi, now it's me. So, yeah, you know, the saddest thing for me is my great-great-grandfather died at the age of 31 from a heart attack, because You know, we don't know if he was overworked, if the stress got to him, or what. But thank God Giuseppe was born by that time. I think he was 5 when his father died. So that kind of worked out for me, because without Giuseppe there would be no Basil. Without Basil there'd be no Dennis. Without Dennis there wouldn't be Sage. So how many of you guys have stories of your own families being duped by the governments of the time into doing whatever? I mean, my wife, she has family members who were actually in the concentration camps that were here in this country, you know, because, I don't know, the governments tell lies to everyone. And so, I mean, if you guys haven't looked into your family's histories, maybe you should. But then again, if you're upset too easily, especially about stuff that you can do nothing about, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe leave those sleeping dogs to lie. But I didn't, and now you know at least the Italian side of it. So until next time, like and subscribe, and have an awesome evening or day or whatever the case may be, and I'll catch you next time.